Hi, my name's Jeff Phipps. I'm the CEO of Neuroviratus. Today's presentation is on total testosterone. So I'm going to help you understand what total testosterone is and its bodily functions. What are the symptoms of low testosterone? What causes low testosterone? What actually is total testosterone? How is testosterone regulated in the body? And really get into the crux of this lecture, which is understanding your pathology. So what's normal in terms of your testosterone and what's optimal for your age? Testosterone is the primary male sex hormone. It is important for both males and females. It influences our muscle mass, our bone density, red blood cell production, our mood, our energy, even influences our pain perception and tolerance. It has an anti-inflammatory effect. That anti-inflammatory effect is in both our body and in our brains. So essentially, it's vital for maintaining our overall physical, mental, and cognitive health. So what are some of the symptoms of low testosterone? So firstly, it's important to understand that testosterone does decline with age. Generally, for males, it typically starts at the age of 30 and starts to decline around 1% every year. Females, depending upon what study you read, some say mid-20s. Most tend to stipulate that testosterone loss starts somewhere in the, anywhere between the age of 30 or mid-30s, even into early 40s onwards. In terms of the symptoms, though, what are we looking at? Well, it's generally polarization of what I just discussed before, which was the benefits. We're looking at the opposite of that. We're looking at weight gain now, reduced muscle mass, bone weakness, anemia, thinning hair, dry skin, sexual dysfunction, erectile dysfunction, vaginal dryness in females. In terms of our cognition, very poor in terms of our memory, difficult concentrating, we get a lot of brain fog. Emotionally, we're quite irritable, agitated, anxiety, depression. Energy, very poor in terms of our energy, extremely fatigued, physical exhaustion. And the opposite of that is insomnia. We just can't sleep. It's very difficult to sleep. Pain, heightened pain sensitivity, reduced pain tolerance. So you might be reviewing this lecture and think to yourself, geez, I believe that I might be low on testosterone. So what do you do? Well, it's probably in your best interest to go and have a conversation with your general practitioner. And after a consultation, you both might decide that pathology referral is in your best interest to get a measure of testosterone. Now, this is generally not done on its own. There's a whole plethora of other bloods and pathology that the general practitioner will need to review in order to determine if you're actually low on testosterone. For the purpose of today's lecture, I'm just talking about total testosterone. Now, total testosterone measures all the testosterone in the blood, both the free and protein bound. So what does that mean? So free testosterone is circulating unbound, and this is biologically available and ready to be used in the tissues at any time that it is needed. The bounded testosterone binds to these proteins, which is SHBG and albumin. So generally what happens when the body senses that it's low on testosterone, you get this unbinding happen so that there can be this equilibrium, or what we call homeostasis, where we can start to elevate the amount of testosterone in the blood and unbind it so it becomes free, so we can use it by the tissues at any one time. Now, to get total testosterone is a measure of both the free and bound forms of testosterone, reflecting your overall hormone availability and storage. So as I mentioned previously, your general practitioner will generate a referral for you to a pathology lab to have your bloods done. Now, this is not done in isolation. It will be done with a number of other tests and hormones. And it's important to understand the testosterone regulation cycle to understand what other hormones are we looking at that directly impact the testosterone cycle. To understand the cycle, as I said before, your body senses that you're low on testosterone, and it will start to release some of that testosterone from SHBG and albumin to be diffused and readily available for the tissues. If it remains low, it will then send a message back up to the brain into a region known as the hypothalamus, and hypothalamus will release a hormone called gonadotropin releasing hormone. That hormone travels down to the two little bulb areas here, known as the pituitary gland, and the pituitary gland will release luteinizing hormone, so LH for short, and follicle stimulating hormone. Now that will travel in the males down to the testes to help with sperm production and help with the release of testosterone, and in the females to the ovaries to help with the release of estrogen. Now, this is the cycle that generally takes place, but it can be impacted. So if you have pituitary dysfunction, if you have a brain injury, you can have neuroinflammation, or a whole host of other issues that cause dysfunction, and this feedback cycle can be somewhat damaged or completely eroded in some individuals, and that's where we need to start considering exogenous hormone replacement such as HRT, TRT. So you've gone to the general practitioner. General practitioner has generated a pathology referral. You've gone and got your bloods done. You've gone back to the GP for your results, but you want to understand what do the results tell you. Now, firstly, you also have to understand normal versus optimal testosterone. Now, what does that mean? Well, every body, what I mean by that, body is different. Some people need more testosterone, some people need less. Now, you first need to understand the testing protocols used in terms of your lab. Generally in Australia, we do total testosterone in our reports using nanomoles per litre. US and other places around the world tend to use nanograms per deciliter. In Australia, the testosterone range for total testosterone to be considered normal generally sits somewhere between 10 nanograms per litre on the low end to the high end of 30 nanograms per litre. Now, is that normal? Is that optimal? So the way that I like to consider is, what are your symptoms like? But also, in terms of your age, like that reporting, those reference ranges are based on population data over many, many decades, including various age brackets, healthy, unhealthy individuals with metabolic disorders, you name it, a whole plethora of conditions. So you want to understand, in a healthy population for your age, is this considered normal? So what I've got here is I've got a really good study. This is a really recent study from 2017, which looked at harmonized reference ranges for circulating total testosterone in adult men. It was based on across 4 cohorts of studies. There was over 9,000 individuals in these studies, and it looked at it separated healthy and unhealthy individuals, obese and non-obese individuals, in terms of the total testosterone. So this will help give you a little bit of an indicator in terms of where you sit, right? So if we look at the actual report here, and this is looking at healthy individuals here, and if we look at here, what does this mean? We're looking at the top here, or non-obese men, and I've just highlighted here, you've got in the 50 percentile. So this means that on average, so half of all the men in this study, if we look at the ages 40 to 49, had testosterone of 481 nanograms per deciliter. So 50% of those men had ranges above 481 nanograms per deciliter, and 50% of those men had ranges below that. Now, you can go through here, so I tend to look at this as the median here. Now, for me, I would be thinking I would want to be somewhere around this as an average or above this. Okay, now this is looked at US and European individuals. So you can see here they're utilizing nanograms per deciliter. Now, there is a way that you can convert that back into Australian reporting standards that we utilize. And this is the conversion guide that I've got down here. So when we want to convert it from nanograms per deciliter into nanomoles per liter, we do this conversion here. So we times it by 0.0347. So if I look at 481 and I times it by 0.0347, I can see that I get 16.7 nanomoles per liter. So for me personally speaking, I would want to ensure that I'm sitting somewhere around that or above that. Again, you need to consider what your symptoms are telling you also, though, and have that conversation with the general practitioner. I have put down the reference and the name of the study here so that you can go and take a look at that. As I said, personally, I use this because I want to understand what healthy individuals, what the median is for healthy individuals, and I also want to understand what age is that coming out. I don't want to go to get my testosterone done and I'm sitting on 10 and I'm experiencing symptoms and I'm being told that it's normal because I'm falling within that range. And this was the purpose of today's lecture, to give you an understanding of total testosterone and how you can interpret your blood. Thank you.